Uh, Hey everyone, I'm Fayaz. I work as a senior dev educator at Cloudflare, and I've been working as an engineer for like nearly more than a decade now. So I've been here since the jQuery bootstrap era. So and before joining Cloudflare, I used to run my own solo startup for like more than 2 years now. And yeah, so like I've been a front end, back end engineer, full stack dev, product engineer. Yeah. So I wanted to start with this very provocative statement that we have been building MCPs wrong. So every agent that we have built, or like every tool calls, like there's like a much better fundamental way to build this. So just a quick show of hands, how many of you have used MCPs or built MCPs or like done tool calling, all that stuff? Okay, perfect. A lot of them. And how many of you have noticed that once you add like more than 10, 15 tool calls, it starts like being flaky, being like starts hallucinating and starts acting crazy. So yeah. So just wanted to talk about like how, I mean, what this better way would be. And but before that, like just like I want to talk about like MCPs for like 30 seconds. So it's a way to expose your business logic to Codex, Claude, or ChatGPT, etc. So like all these code gen tools. So for example, if you have a service or an API, you can expose them to your LLMs. Like for example, you can expose them as tools. So each tool could be like a task or anything that you can do. And then you also attach documentation along with it. So that the tool, I mean, LLM knows what the tool does. And then we handle authentication. For example, if you're using like, let's say a Gmail agent, I mean, you have to log in. So yeah, we handle that too. So there's like a lot of problems with MCPs today. And I want to start with this one, which is like a major one. So like context window bloat. For example, let's say a 10 tools are fine. Let's say like you haven't sent email action, which is good enough. But if you want to like, let's say you have a huge API reference, for example, Cloudflare has like more than 2,500 API endpoints, which translates to closely 1.25 million tokens, which is a lot. Okay. So imagine feeding all of this into the LLM, which is kind of impossible right now because most frontier models have like a 1 million token limit. So even if you fed that, it's like, I mean, you can't really like get it to do anything if you feed like 1 million tokens right into it. And the second thing, this is more like a fundamental problem. So like LLMs are like much better at writing code than like calling tools. For example, they have seen millions of TypeScript projects, then seeing your own business logic, which it has never seen before. For example, it knows TypeScript lines and JavaScript lines, but it does not know, let's say if you're running a SaaS product, it does not know that it is supposed to do XYZ within your application. So if you've been using Cloudflare, if you, I mean, you might have heard of Kenton. He's the architect of Cloudflare Workers. He made this really interesting like statement, like giving LLMs tool context is like having Shakespeare learn Mandarin in 1 month and making write a play. So he's just not going to do his best work. And the third problem is round trip waste. So for example, if you're doing multiple chained tool calls, every time it is going to like repeat the same thing, which will just keep on adding to your own context. So like, for example, a 5-step task will mean like 5 different chained tool calls. And that's exactly what Cloudflare is trying to fix this with a new concept called code mode. I mean, it's not exactly new. Apple actually wrote this really interesting paper called Code Act. So they found out that it's better to have LLMs write code which will call your tools rather than calling the tools themselves. So yeah, what exactly is code mode? So your tools, what happens is they will become a typed SDK. So it will generate typed inferences, basically like an NPM package. And LLMs will write code for calling these tools. And this code, like this specific like snippet that will run inside like an isolated sandbox. And only uh, that code which gets executed, the result will be then fed back to the LLM's response. So yeah, this is how it look like. For example, let's say your LLM, I mean, your agent is trying to make calls like send email or get weather. This is how it will get converted as a TypeScript inference or an SDK. So this is basically like an npm package that you install. So within a project. So this our LLMs have seen multiple times, so they know like what this does, how it works. In like apart from like running LLM tools. So like yeah. So that's the API part. Or like you might be interested, like wondering like where will this code get executed. So what happens is like Cloudflare will spawn a new small V8 worker isolate, and it will get executed within that. So it's not in like full-fledged container, because it's not necessary for like a very small snippet to like spawn up a whole container like consuming lots of RAM. So it's much faster. Like workers have like so much, I mean, so efficient that, I mean, they're like almost negligible when it comes to RAM. And it's also like isolated from the network, so that because running LLM produced code on production is like very scary. So like fetch and connect are like generally blocked, and the API keys never enter the sandbox. So authentication or anything that happens through your API tokens, that will run on the client. Just the code that is supposed to call your tools, that gets run on the isolate. So just wanted to show you when Cloudflare actually implemented this concept on their own. Like I mentioned, it has like 2,500 API endpoints. So like I mentioned, it has more than a million tokens worth of context. But when we ran it through code mode, it actually just made one call and it just consumed 1,000 tokens, because it's just like a TypeScript fetch call to the API endpoints. So whenever you wanted to make an API call, it will just send that as an argument, and the TypeScript code will make an API request. So which means 99.9% reduction in tokens. Okay, like how to use this? It's just an npm package called Cloudflare/code mode. And this currently just runs on Cloudflare workers, because it requires a separate worker isolate to run the code that it gets generated. So if you have used Cloudflare projects, there's this wrangler.json file which you use. It's like a configuration for Cloudflare to know what services are being used. So you just like add this new binding, and then you just like wrap your existing tools within this method called create code tool. That's all. So your your agent will make immediately less token requests. Okay, and it works directly with the AI SDK. So let's say like before you had this tool called get weather, send email, or any other MCP tools. You just spread them and pass it to an executor, which will be your worker isolate, and then use the create code tool and then pass the executor and the tools. Rest of your application will remain the same. Also, like we do some sanitization from our end so that there'll be no naming conflicts within. Okay, let me show you a quick demo. Yeah, I vibe coded this application. Let me quickly share this. Okay, so I have a small agent that makes a request to get weather for multiple cities. So the left side is just normal tool calls and the right side is code mode. If I run this, I hope this runs. Mm, okay, I don't know what's happening, but let me test it again. Okay. So what happened is I sent it 10 different cities and asked it to get the weather for these 10 different cities. So it made 10 different tool calls. Yeah. And here it actually generated just like a very small fetch request and sent the cities as argument. So this would mean like much lesser tokens and much lesser tool calls, which will make it your agent much more efficient. Let me go back. Yeah, like you saw that it made like multiple end round trims, whereas that I mean, as opposed to just one tool call. So if I'm comparing it, so like context usage much lesser. There's like if you're chaining a lot of tool calls, like even like theoretically you'll have like infinite call privilege. So and the security, the Cloudflare security layer is added as well. And there are like API keys which don't get passed to your isolate, and the scale is effectively unlimited. Uh, but there are like some limitations to this because I mean, as good as it is, for example, whenever there's like a human in the loop involved, for example, if you are trying to send an email using an agent, it's best to have it reviewed by a human. This is not yet supported, and it only supports like JavaScript and TypeScript for now. Also, this is in production closed beta, but if you need access to this, just let me know. I'll get you on board. And also, like they're shipping this way too fast, so don't run this on production yet. You can run this locally, but the API might break. And yeah, that's it. I just wanted to keep it short. So like earlier, I mean, the traditional way, expose every tool call. Instead of this, I mean, we have found this new way from called code mode, which lets you run APIs as TypeScript code. And yeah, that's it. Uh, Let me know if you have any questions. And if you want me to find on social media, just I'll always available on Twitter. Yeah, let me know. Thank you guys. Guys, have any questions? Yeah. Sorry? No, I didn't hear you. Uh, I'm still getting. You want to see it again? Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, please. Okay. Mm. Hmm. Okay. I mean, that's actually like a perfect use case. I mean, for your problem. So, I mean, I'm not aware of the Google's, I mean, Docs API, but I'm pretty sure like we can send in multiple paragraphs or whatever content we want. So we just like compress it into like one single payload and make a fetch call using code mode. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Code mode does actually. Like it will automatically know that we are trying to make multiple of these. It will just like write one single TypeScript fetch call. or I mean, not just fetch call, it could use the SDK as well, and then make the request. I mean, I'm happy to show you a demo later on. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else, guys? Sure. No, it will not. I mean, get added to the context. So essentially, technically, it's just like one single tool that's calling all of these. I mean, external services or whatever it is using the TypeScript. Basically, it's just like a small JavaScript method that will call these 1,000 tools that you're referring to. No, no, it will not be saved in the context. It will make a request. It will check which all tools are available using the code. Like it will be isolated from your context. So only the last response that will be sent to the LLM's context. Yeah. All right, guys. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Fayaz. Yeah, so we are at the end of the 100th event. Yeah, thanks a lot for joining, and thanks, Sweta, for making this event special. As you know, we are running this community from last 11 years, right? And it takes a lot of effort and some support from the community members, you know, a lot of companies coming forward to host the events, a lot of speakers coming forward to share their knowledge. I want to take this opportunity to uh, thank all the community members, speakers, and the companies who supported us from last 11 years, and hope we can do a lot more events in the coming days. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
All right. So we are gonna cut a cake. Before we cut the cake, we want to click a group photo. So I would request all of you to just come on the podium so that we can click it, and then we'll cut the cake. ये connected नहीं है वायर से पक्का होगा क्या आज तो ये रखो पता भाई गड़बड़ ना हो कुछ अब लगी है फिर ठीक है चार्जर किसका लगे रहने दो इन्हीं का ही है चार्जर चार्जर इन्हीं का ही है all the tall people can go backside. The front row can go on knees, please. If you don't want to go on knees, then can go aside. Let us, because there's no way we can fit in. Okay, if someone has to, but still we can't. Someone has to sit first row. Yeah, can come forward and sit.